What is going on, guys? Welcome to another Vinegar Syndrome review. The Halloween October season is fast approaching, and I want to talk about two Mexican films that were recently released by Vinegar Syndrome in 2020, and those are Ladrones de Tumbas, also known as Grave Robbers, and Cementerio del Terror, which is also known as Cemetery of Terror. Starting off first, I'm going to be chatting a little bit about this one. This one was released in 1989, my birth year. And both of these films are so drenched in Halloween atmosphere and spookiness and eeriness when it comes to like graveyards and fog, especially. If you like your fog and if you like your nighttime rainy terror, these films deliver so much. And like, and this is very common. A lot of people have a big issue with subtitled films and don't like to read and whatnot. Both these films are not available in English without the subtitles. They're not dubbed, or they don't have a dubbed version in these Blu-rays anyway. But read your films because, like, there. I've never seen an American movie as atmospheric as this one. Yes, that includes Halloween 3. As atmospheric as it is. Yes, that includes Trick or Treat. All right? Now, these films are amazing, but man, what the director puts in these films, like I said, I'm talking about them separately, so we're just going to stick to this one right now. The 1989 Ladrones de Tumbas. Both films were directed by, where's his name here? Rubén Galindo Jr., and he is a longtime filmmaker. I think he comes from a family of filmmakers from Mexico City, born in Mexico City. And he really loves his practical horror, man. You can definitely tell throughout these films. They're both about an hour and a half apiece, and they're just so much fun. So thank you, Vinegar Syndrome, for putting both out. But starting with Ladrones de Tumbas or Grave Robbers, the stories are simple. I mean, I didn't even have to take a ton of notes for these. There's a lot of characters in them. Ruben definitely likes to make stories that involve different plots and stories going on at the same time. This one, it focuses on two mainly. The film begins though with this guy. He's performing this satanic ritual on this young woman on a pentagram drawn on the floor or whatnot, and he's interrupted by this what seems like a cult led by this cult priest or whatever. But they're not necessarily, they don't seem anyway as the villains because maybe they're anti-heroes, but they immediately stop this guy and they tie him up to this mechanism of some sort that keeps spinning around, so his body keeps being stretched further and further. And the leader of this cult is basically making this guy repent before killing him. He's like, I'm gonna like axe you to death and repent so you can be saved in the afterlife and whatnot. And the guy just keeps spitting at the other guy, and he yells this curse before he's axed to death, and he says like, I will come back and I will return and my curse will stay through that axe that you're gonna kill me with. And lo and behold, he's right. So we flash forward to a few years later. It's not really mentioned how long, but we're introduced to this slew of grave robbers, and this group of kids basically robs graves for gold or anything they can get their hands on. Really, not the smartest grave robbers in the world. And not the brightest either. I mean, there's some characters in this film. There's this one girl named Rebecca, or Rebe for short, and she's like the ditzy girl, but she's also the girl who apparently knows where all the gold is, or claims she does. But every situation they land in, you just see more and more that she's completely full of shit. But the characters are pretty funny nonetheless, and they're really entertaining. And the best thing about this film is certainly the graveyard and the set. There's a scene where like this zombie slash mummy comes out of a tomb, and it's all practical, and everything in this film is all practical, and I really really like that. And then on the other hand, we have this. I consider him a sheriff, but they call him a captain. He's law enforcement basically, and he has a daughter named Olivia, and Olivia is out celebrating with her own friends. And basically, throughout the film, this group of grave robbers eventually gets arrested, and this sheriff, cop, whatever, is interrogating the hell out of them. And the leader of the grave robbers, his name is Manolo. He, what? His name is Manolo. He keeps insisting that there's this weird curse that just came out, and they found an axe in the cellar of the basement, or like the underground of the basement, and this axe has like resurrected this you know seemingly slasher killer figure, and this killer is like out to get everybody, and the sheriff obviously kind of thinks they're all full of shit, but he just locks them up in the prison, and then goes after his daughter to save his daughter basically. But this plays out like a typical slasher film. You've got the main dude with like a hood and his infamous cursed axe, and he's just going around slaying everybody. There's some supernatural elements to this too. Like there's a scene in the what's it called, the prison, the jail cell, where one of the guys, Armando, is lying on a bed, and this arm just comes right through his stomach, and it's a fantastic practical effect. Now you can obviously tell that the actor who's playing Armando, his head is like his body is underneath the bed, and it's just his head showing above the head, and then everything else is just like a dummy, obviously. But it's still extremely gory. You got like the intestines coming out of the stomach. It's just really really well done with the blood effects, and the gore, and the brutality of it. It's really really good for a horror film. But in this scene too, you have arms coming out of the walls and stuff like that, and like grabbing people around the neck, kind of reminiscent of A Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit, when like Freddy's face comes out of the wall in the first movie and stuff like that. A little bit reminiscent to that, I found. I'm wondering if he took inspiration from it, but it's hard to tell. And the kills in general, like I said, are really really well done. There's also a lot of humor, and well placed humor put in this film. There's a priest character who has this moment where he's in his like study or whatnot, and there's this knife that basically just starts floating, and it's a really cheesy scene. You don't know where like it's going, but the knife eventually will stabs his hand, and he pulls it out of his hand, and then he's like, he just starts he's like, damn you Satan, like in Spanish subtitled. He's like, damn you Satan, and he's saying all these like curses towards it, and just he does this cheesy like these maneuvers and these pointings with his hands, and just the way he speaks is absolutely hilarious. And this is why another reason to watch films subtitled instead of dubbed is because you lose that charm if you're watching a dubbed film while somebody's speaking over somebody speaking another language. It just ruins the charm of it, like I said. And the way this priest is acting is just so over the top, and it's so hilarious that it's just a treat to see. But basically, everybody starts working together at some point, and the police officer, like I say police officer, sheriff, whatever he is, starts to see all these murders actually go on, and then he teams up with Armando and Manolo and all the rest of the crew of these grave robbers, and they get together, and they like gather some dynamite, and they go to the crypt, and they where this cursed axed killer is, and it's said by the priest too that basically his goal, his survival thing, is to find a virgin who happens to be the daughter of the sheriff, Olivia, who he gets in the end and tries to I'd say sacrifice, but it's not really sacrificial because he needs a virgin to carry the son of Satan kind of thing. So not necessarily a sacrifice, but a sacrifice to birth and carry the son of Satan or whatnot. I love how the sheriff also uses an Uzi. It's like I was looking at his gun, I was like, that thing is massive, and then I realized it's an Uzi, or it looks like one anyway. It's single fire, but I mean the gun's huge, and there's a scene where he just starts gunning down with like 20 to 30 bullets. This killer. I both movies, I must say, they start fine, but then when it comes to the third act, they both just go balls to the wall, and this is absolutely no exception. I really love the third act. I really love the brutality of everything that, you know, everything that comes swarming into the third act just so heavily and without mercy. It's one thing after the other. Crazy deaths, over the top acting, cheesy acting, and just pure Halloween atmosphere. I don't know really how else to put it. I found the scene really really odd when the killer there's four kids in a car, and then he bursts through the back window. He grabs one of the girls and drags her out of the car, and then drags her to like the cemetery gate, and basically just pushes her head through like the narrow gate that it can't get through, and her skin's ripping, and basically her head gets crushed in this like narrow little space within the gate. I'm just thinking like that's creative, but definitely a lot of struggle for one kill. That's the only. I mean, I love the kill, but geez, like he took his time there, and he really enjoyed that one moment. Just hilarious shit like that that goes on. There's a scene too where it's pouring rain. This is a scene involving the kids with these. I call them conquistadors, but they're called peasants in the film. At least that's how they're referred to. There's these guys. There are these guys that like ride horses and have large cowboy hats and these ponchos over themselves. They mustaches. They look like conquistadors, basically, or what I would think a conquistador would look like. But yeah, they're trying to help these kids out, and it's like absolutely pouring rain, and then literally the next scene, everything is not dry, but like it just stops like abruptly. It doesn't slow down in the rain; it just completely abruptly stops. And it's funny. Like that's not a knock at the movie or anything like that. I gave both the films 4 out of 5, and I mean watching them in the fall or watching them in October in general, an absolute treat. I cannot recommend these films, both of them, but this one specifically in this review. Yes, I'm trying to talk, one at a time. I am going to be doing a review for the next one. I can't recommend them enough, especially in this season. Like I think this is a big reason why I enjoyed rewatching these films. I bought them last year, but a big reason why I really enjoyed this viewing the most is because of approaching fall kind of thing. So I don't want to keep the reviews of these videos too long, so I'm going to leave it at that. And like I said, the premises are so simple. These films are really about the atmosphere and just they're a blast, honestly. Ladrones de Tumbas is an absolute blast. Read your subtitles. I mean, it is so worth it. And if you don't like to read, just watch the fucking visuals and enjoy the ride, because just that is good enough in itself. So that's all I got on Ladrones de Tumbas, or Grave Robbers. And it's a lot of fun, so don't miss it. Look up Vinegar Syndrome. They're an amazing company that puts out a vast majority of films that I've never heard of, and I would never have heard of unless it was for them. And 8 out of 10 of them will end up being like some of the best films I've ever seen. So if you like cult cinema, they're a company to look for. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews, and I'll be back with more when I can. Check out what's on the channel. Subscribe if you're interested. And until next review, take care and cheers.